She wanted to go to Hollywood.
17-year-old Nikki Kuhnhausen should be making TikTok videos.
She wanted to be a star.
Nikki Kuhnhausen should be alive.
Bottom line, you do feel he killed Nikki because she was trans?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, he didn't deny it.
KGW and Vault Studios present.
So what do you think happened to her? I have no idea.
Should be alive.
Is she alive? I don't know.
Follow now.
Coming up.
You know, they're my treasures. They're my children. I don't think that I will never trust her with them again.
For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson. You're listening to The Daily Crime. In Louisville, Kentucky, a local pediatrician has been accused of trying to hire a hitman to kill her ex-husband.
Dr. Stephanie Russell appearing in federal court today, accused of agreeing to pay a hitman $7,000 to kill her ex-husband.
She's been their primary caregiver for 6 years, so it's just freaky.
It's shocking, to say the least, and it's very sad. I know several parents in this area that bring their children here, and like I said, I've only heard positive, wonderful things about them.
With Dr. Russell, everything was fine. Like, she was pleasant, she was sweet, the girls liked her.
Why choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because our Sleep Number 360 smart bed is really smart. It senses your movement and automatically adjusts to help keep you both comfortable. Plus, it's temperature balancing so you stay cool. It's even smart enough to know exactly how long, how well, and when you slept, and to help you get almost 30 minutes more restful sleep per night. Sleep Number takes care of the science. All you have to do is sleep. And now, during our Memorial Day sale, save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed Queen, now only $19.99, only for limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
And I'm joined now by Grace McKenna, a reporter at WHAS11 in Louisville, Kentucky. Grace, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
So before we get into the charges and what we know about this case so far, tell me a little bit about Dr. Stephanie Russell. I mean, she's been a pediatrician in the area for a while, right?
She has, yeah. We have since learned, since covering this case, that she is the pediatrician at a pediatrician's office called Kids Life Pediatrics. It's in a neighborhood around this area called Norton Commons. She seemingly has a lot of patients and a lot of people that, you know, just from looking at the comments on her own stories and from talking to parents ourselves, seemed to really, really love her and trust her with their kids, and, you know, had been kind of an established part of the community for a long time. And as we are starting to hear more from her attorneys and from the court, you know, that's something that they are really leaning on as well, trying to show the reputation that she had in our community.
Despite her reputation, the charges against her are pretty shocking. Tell us what we know so far about this alleged murder for hire plot.
They are, and there's a lot that goes into them. We initially found out through a release from the district attorney saying that she had been taken in on these charges of murder for hire, essentially. And we had covered just that initial release, and then a couple days later comes time for this court appearance where we hear from her attorneys for the first time. We hear from the prosecution and learn more details about what exactly went into, you know, gathering all of that evidence that it took to make that arrest. And, you know, come to find out that this is an investigation that the FBI had been involved in, that they had been working on for quite some time, that Stephanie Russell approached people within her, allegedly approached people within her pediatrician's office, asking about if anybody had information about how she could get a hitman to try to kill her ex-husband. Those are, you know, that's information that is supported by text messages and witness statements that the FBI gathered over the period of several months, where she repeatedly comes back to these two cooperating witnesses, asking them for information about hiring a hitman. And eventually, what happened is that the FBI got involved. She approaches one of these witnesses again, who is now involved with the FBI. That witness gives her the phone number of a supposed hitman. And when she contacts that hitman, pretend hitman. We come to find out, it turns out that it is an undercover FBI agent. And that essentially kind of gets us to where we are now, where the case is now with the federal court. And we now wait for a little bit more information and for that to start to play out in court.
From what we can tell from court documents, from the criminal complaint against her, this individual within her office reported what was going on, and the FBI basically set up this scenario where she approached somebody who wasn't a hitman, it was an FBI agent.
Yeah, that does appear to be what played out after several months of her asking and texting people about various hitmen. There was initially another witness who apparently told her that she knew a hitman, and then that person told her that hitman had died, and so she started approaching this other person. It was a lengthy time of all of these text messages with her repeatedly coming to these witnesses asking about hiring a hitman.
Grace, do we know how much she was offering to pay a hitman, and if she had paid any of that money yet?
Yes. So according to that criminal complaint, she agreed to pay $7,000 to have that hit put out. And what we know so far is that in those court documents, it says that she placed $3,500 of that money into a Quest Diagnostics box that was at the back of her practice. So that's a drop box where the lab company would come to collect, blood samples and that kind of thing from the pediatrician's office. The complaint says that she put $3,500 in that box. And that another $3,500 had been agreed to be paid upon completion of the hit.
We're right around the corner, and money drop-offs were happening right around the corner. Like, that freaks us out. It's just kind of one of those things you don't expect.
I contacted you because an uncle of mine was murdered about 20 years ago.
A bullet smashes through Dr. Barnett Slepian's kitchen window. He was killed for providing abortions. And now the battle over abortion rights is heating up again.
We're talking about 50 years of precedent that it appears now will definitely be thrown out the window.
I'm David Ridgen, and this is the return of Someone Knows Something. Available now. Get early access to episodes at cbc.ca/listen or by subscribing to the CBC True Crime channel on Apple Podcasts.
Grace, Stephanie Russell was arraigned at the end of May, and again, this was a case that, as you said, took a little while to get to the point where charges were filed against her. But it goes back a few years, actually, not necessarily this idea or this accusation of hiring a hitman, but previous issues within their marriage.
Yeah, we've seen through court documents that there is a lengthy divorce and settlement battle going on between Russell and her ex-husband. When they initially got divorced, there was a long case to determine custody, according to these court documents, and a lot went into that settlement, which ended in her ex-husband being granted custody. She had supervised visitation 2 days a week. And her attorneys during the arraignment made a point to note that she has always taken advantage of that visitation right. So she has always seen her children at any opportunity she was given. According to the court documents, in that divorce kind of battle, there were a lot of allegations that she made against the ex-husband about potential abuse of their children. There, according to the documents, were some videos showing her kind of coaching the children, apparently, about that. And ultimately, those court documents and the judge decided that she was lying about these allegations, that there was an investigation into them and that they were unfounded.
Where do things stand now? Dr. Stephanie Russell remains behind bars, right?
She is in custody, yes. And we are basically, at last brush at the arraignment, we heard from the court that this case would be sent to the grand jury and that was expected to happen when they were convened sometime in early June. There were a couple of different dates that were given out. So we kind of are just waiting to see when in June this is passed off to to the grand jury, the kind of crux there being that with federal court, there is a little bit more obscurity than we're maybe used to. So we don't necessarily always get as much access or as many details as we would if this was a case handled by Kentucky.
I know your station caught up with some parents outside her office, but I mean, you can only imagine hearing about these charges against someone who's taking care of your children and what that's been like for people who've been going there for years.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is certainly shock, I think, is kind of what we've gotten from most parents. We spoke to some parents who just initially, right when the office had to close down, when she was initially arrested outside of the office. And then I've spoken to, a parent as well who chose that office specifically for Dr. Russell. She had been a nanny who had taken her, the kids that she nannied for went to Dr. Russell. And then when she had her own kids, she set in her mind, I will take my kids to Dr. Stephanie Russell, and had been, a patient of hers, whether through her kids or through the kids she nannied for a decade. So this is kind of, like I mentioned at the beginning, a person who has a strong reputation within the community, people who like her and want to go to her practice, really were relying on her. And that was something too that the attorneys really tried to make a point of when this arraignment was going on. They wanted her released to home incarceration to be able to continue her practice. So at this point, we've got a lot of parents who are trying to find new doctors. There have been a couple of pediatricians in town who are taking on those patients.
Grace McKenna at WHAS11 in Louisville. Thanks for talking to us about this case. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks for listening to The Daily Crime. Be sure to check out our weekly show, True Crime Chronicles, available wherever you listen to podcasts. For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson.